Hello gamers, how's it going? I'm going great, thanks for asking. Anyway, today I'll be going over my first impressions of the new seasonal mods and outlining which of them you should pick when leveling your artifact. Because I seem to have locked myself into a never-ending cycle with these videos. So let's start then, shall we? In the first column we have Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle, Overload Bow, Unstopped Pulse Rifle, Unstopped Sidearm because everyone used that last season, am I right? And finally Overload Sword is back. If you're familiar with Nightfalls at all, the purpose of these mods should be pretty self-explanatory. As far as recommendations go for this column, you're probably going to want all of them except Overload Sword. It just costs too much energy to use and swords aren't really useful in higher end content these days. The second and third columns are slightly different to previous seasons, as they don't contain as many of your typical reload, scavenger, targeting, etc. mods. The mods in these columns are as follows: Hands-on, which gives you a super energy on melee kills, Shotgun Dexterity, Sword Scav, Fusion Rifle Loader, Linear Fusion Targeting, Auto Rifle Loader, Shotgun Ammo Finder, Passive Guard, a mod from a few seasons back which decreases damage taken by close enemies when wielding a sword, Fusion Scav, and Sidearm Dexterity. Since you have to pick 3 mods from this season, I'd personally go for Hands-On, as it could be a good mod for general gameplay, Shotgun Dexterity for PvP, and Passive Guard because why not? Sword Scav may also be worth a cop in place of either of these, but it's up to you. The fourth column is where things start to get interesting. You've got the likes of Unstopped Fusion Rifle, Withering Heat, which for me appeared to do absolutely nothing, but on light.gg it says that it makes solar abilities weaken champions. Resonant Siphon, which gives stasis ability energy on stunning a champion. Thermoclastic Strike, which is essentially a overload melee for solar and stasis. And finally Fire and Ice, which gives you elemental wells for killing a champion. Now much like the previous 2 columns, you can pick a total of 3 here. Unstopped Fusion is sort of a must. Not only do fusions have another great mod this season, which I'll get into, but it can also be used alongside the Vex Mythoclast, which could also see some play this season due to its numerous buffs. Withering Heat also sounds pretty decent, especially for Warlocks running Well of Radiance, so if you're on Warlock, I'd probably get this. Similarly, Resonant Siphon also sounds particularly good for Warlocks, with how good stasis turrets are in Nightfalls right now. The other 2 aren't really worth picking, especially Fire and Ice, unless you want to go with a very specific build including Elemental Wells. That may be decent this season due to the Warmind Cell nerf. In summary, go for Unstopped Fusion, Withering Heat, and Resonant Siphon. The final column is pretty easy to choose. Just go for Focusing Lens, as that was good back in Season of the Chosen, I believe, and then go for Particle Disruption, which is the other fusion rifle mod that I mentioned earlier. Basically, it gives you a damage buff against targets after hitting them with a fusion rifle. Note that this is a damage buff and not a target debuff, so this can be paired with Hunter Tether or even Withering Heat, as mentioned earlier, to potentially deal some pretty considerable damage. And that's it for my guide on this season's artifact. I'll probably do another one next season, I don't know.